and welcome to the Murder, She Wrote Rewatch podcast. We're back again with the next episode, Death Casts a Spell. Ooh. And what is this episode about? Well, it is about the fact that a hypnotist is murdered in a room with 6 eyewitnesses all under a trance who don't remember seeing anything. Very interesting. So first we're going to jump in and, as always, take a look at the main players in our particular little mystery here. Naturally, we have Angela Lansbury. We also have Joan Germain. Now, Joan Germain is an assistant editor with Jessica's book publisher, and she has forged a telegram bringing Jessica there because she is absolutely captivated with this hypnotist guy, and she thinks that that would be a lovely backdrop for a murder mystery and wants to get her in on it. But, of course, Jessica wants nothing to do with it. She has 38 acting credits to her name. She has been in 3 episodes of Murder, She Wrote. Joan Germain in this one. 6 years later, she was in an episode as Mary Margaret Maggie Macaulay. Wow, that's a name. And then 6 years after that, she was Annie Lawson in an episode of Murder, She Wrote. So she's in the 1st season, the 6th season, and probably the 12th season. So we're not going to see her for a while. And, of course, The Love Boat, Soap, she was on, Fantasy Island. A show called I'm a Big Girl Now, TV show. Don't know what that's about. Foot in the Door, Harriet Foote. Interesting. St. Elsewhere, she was in an episode of, which is pretty cool, but hasn't been in a lot since like around 1998. She's only been voice roles and video shorts since then. So sadly, she hasn't been in a lot since then. But that's who she is. Then we have the famous hypnotist, Cagliostro, played by Jose Ferrer. He's passed away in 1992 at the age of 80. He was a bit of an old man even back then. Let's see. He played the same character in 3 episodes of Matlock, which is pretty cool. Arthur Vanderkellen in 6 episodes of Newhart. I remember Newhart. Good old Bob Newhart in the Newhart TV series. The Love Boat. Where's Murder, She Wrote at? Murder, She Wrote. Death Casts a Spell. That's the only episode he's been in. Governor Dinwiddie in 3 episodes of George Washington TV miniseries. So that's that, but he's been in a lot of stuff over the years. He seems to be most well known for Turkish Bay in Lawrence of Arabia. Now there's a famous movie. He played Padishah Emperor Shad? Let's see, hold on. In 1984, Dune, the movie Dune. Padishah Emperor Shaddam IV in Dune, 1984. Probably a big one. The original Moulin Rouge. He was Henry de Toulouse, possibly Lautrec, 1952. And the Caine Mutiny, he was Lieutenant Barney Greenwald. So he's been in a few famous movies. He won an Oscar, apparently. What did he win an Oscar for? He was nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role, Moulin Rouge. He won an Oscar for Best Actor in a Leading Role in Cyrano de Bergerac. Nominated for Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Joan of Arc. Won a Golden Globe. Nominated. Second place. He won a few awards for Cyrano de Bergerac. Alright, pretty cool. Dude's done a few good things. But he played Cagliostro in this. The famous hypnotist. Yes. Who else was in here? We have, let's see, Murray Hamilton playing Bud Michaels, a reporter, fellow. He's apparently best known for Mayor Larry Vaughn in Jaws 1 and Jaws 2, Mr. Robinson in The Graduate, and Findlay in The Hustler. So he's been in a few big movies too. 156 credits. Last one was in 1988. Yeah, that's about right. Murder, She Wrote, Death Casts a Spell. It's the only episode he's in. BJ and the Bear TV series. Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color. Henry Carpenter, who's in 2 episodes of that. Donovan's Kid. Henry Carpenter. Rich Man, Poor Man TV series. And a lot of other stuff. So he's been in a few things. He plays a bit of a newspaper man, looking to get the scoop on Cagliostro. Then we have Andy Townsend, who is also a newspaper man, whose father was friends with Bud Michaels there. Played by Brian Kerwin. He seems to be known for... He was Hal in 27 Dresses. He was Robert Phelan in The Help. Charlie Banks in One Life to Live. And he was Brian Powell in Jack, the Robin Williams movie. He's also Corky in the TV series The Nick with, what's-his-face, Clive Owens. He plays Lincoln in the TV series Hindsight. Garrett Landry in The Client List, 2012. What else has he been in? Oh, he was in an episode of Monk. I like Monk. Eugene Alderman, 4 episodes of Nip Tuck, Grey's Anatomy, Boston Legal. So he's been in a lot of recent The West Wing, Law and Order Special Victims Unit, Beggars and Choosers. So where's Murder, She Wrote? We're going to have to go back some more. He's been in a lot of stuff. St. Elsewhere. Murder, She Wrote. Where are you? Come on. No, I've gone back too far. I've gone too far. There it is. Death Casts a Spell. It's the only episode he's in. So he plays the son of a guy. Plays the son of an old friend of Bud Michaels, and they know each other that way. We have Sherry Diamond, played by Elaine Joyce, who is Cagliostro's assistant. She was Candace in 90210 Beverly Hills for 4 episodes. She was in 3 episodes of Murder, She Wrote. This one. 6 years later, she was in another one as a different character. 3 years after that, again, another one as a different character. Simon and Simon, The Love Boat. Pretty much everyone was on The Love Boat. Oh, she was also in an episode of Magnum P.I. Of Sound Mind was the episode name. Cousin Marina Pepesco. Very interesting. She was apparently in 22 episodes of Mr. Merlin as Alexandra. Pretty cool. She was Mitzi and a waitress in two different episodes of The Incredible Hulk back in the day. So yeah. Pretty neat. Pretty neat. What else? Where's the other characters at? Yes, Joe Kellyan. Joe Kellyan is the character's name, played by Robert Loggia. Now there's a name. He passed away very recently, December 4th, 2015. Only a couple years ago. Robert Loggia, or Loggia. Now, he's known for a lot of movies. Frank Lopez in Scarface, General William Gray in Independence Day, Macmillan in Big, Jason Cutler in Over the Top with Stallone. He was in Independence Day Resurgence, reprising his role. Let's see, who else? He did a couple of voices in The Family Guy. He was in Hawaii Five-0, the 2010 series. Let's see here. Who else has he been in? The Sopranos. He was in 4 episodes of that. He was in Queens Supreme as a judge. A lot of little TV shows here and there. The Outer Limits. Joan of Arc. We're going back to Wild Palms, Sunday Diner, Mancuso FBI as Nick Mancuso. All 20 episodes of that. Very cool. Very cool. Where's the Murder, She Wrote? Magnum P.I. He plays the same character in three episodes. Philip Trousseau. He was apparently in Don't Eat the Snow in Hawaii, parts 1 and 2, and Death and Taxes. So, that's interesting. Same character in all 3. But he only played one episode of Murder, She Wrote, which is sad. Oh, he was in Trail of the Pink Panther and Curse of the Pink Panther. Oh, wow. He's probably in the other Pink Panther movies, too. Revenge of the Pink Panther. There he is. Wow. Robert Loggia. I don't know how to say his last name. He's been in a lot of stuff. He plays the owner of the hotel that all this happens at. Joe Kellyan. His wife, Regina Kellyan, played by Michelle Phillips. And Michelle Phillips, she's still alive, according to IMDb. She played Ann Matheson on Knots Landing. Apparently she's known for the Forrest Gump soundtrack. She played Billy Frechet in Dillinger, and Natasha Rambova in Valentino. That looks very... The poster I'm looking at... yeah, look up the poster for the movie Valentino. Well... let's see, what has she been in that people might know? Not a lot. The Magnificent Seven TV series, she was Maud Standish, I guess, for 3 episodes. Beverly Hills, Abby Malone in 9 episodes. Spicy City TV series, she was the voice of Raven. I have no idea what that is. Malibu Shores, Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Claudette Wilder in the episode Target Jimmy Olsen. Oh my. Second Chances, Joanna Russell. And then Knots Landing and Matheson Sumner for 88 episodes. Wow, jeez. That's a lot. Star Trek The Next Generation. Janice Mannheim, We'll Always Have Paris, 1988. And where is it? The Love Boat, Fantasy Island, Murder, She Wrote. Murder, She Wrote. Where are you? Where are you, Murder, She Wrote? There she is. Yep, just that episode. And then there's, of course, Love Boat, Fantasy Island. It seems like everybody back then was in Love Boat and Fantasy Island. So that's those ones. There's an elderly lady who ends up mistaking Jessica at one point for some nurse, even though she has one of Jessica's books. Yeah, she died in 1992, quite a few years ago. She played elderly lady in Death Casts a Spell on Murder, She Wrote, and then 5 years later, in The Error of Her Ways, that episode, she played elderly lady number 1. Really stretching her acting talent there. Mrs. Fernstrom in Herbie the Love Bug. I remember Herbie the Love Bug. Wow. Doris Day Show. Petticoat Junction. Selma Plout in Petticoat Junction. The Beverly Hillbillies. Elverna Bradshaw. She was 13 episodes of that. She's been in a lot of older stuff. Stuff that I'm not completely familiar with. The Addams Family TV series. She was apparently Princess Millicent von Schlepp in The Addams Family, the old one, 1965. So yeah, she's been in a few things, but she's only a minor role in this one. It's just something I thought I would mention. What else is there? We have Dr. Yambert, played by Conrad Janis. Dr. Yambert is a psychologist who also knows about hypnotism, someone that Jessica consults with on this case to get some information. Known for Mork and Mindy as Fred McConnell, Ross Turner, The Buddy Holly Story, Father Double Trouble in The Cable Guy, and Businessman and Car in Brewster's Millions. Oh, Brewster's Millions. I remember that movie. I may have to do a big and small screens on Brewster's Millions. Because that's a fun, Richard Pryor movie from back in the day. Let's see. He played Albert in 3 episodes of Frasier. Where is it? Cable Guy. Murder, She Wrote. Yes, Dr. Yambert in this episode. 4 years later, he was in another episode as Miles Hatcher, and 3 years after that as Jason O'Connell. So he's been in 3 episodes, but as different characters. Mork and Mindy. Oh yeah, the Mork and Mindy, Laverne and Shirley Fonz Hour. Wow. Interesting things. Now, other than that, that's pretty much everybody except for the policeman, Lieutenant Bergkamp, played by Robert Hogan. Born in 1933, still alive today. He's been on General Hospital, One Life to Live, Another World, and As the World Turns. Pretty much every daytime soap that has ever been. He's still doing movies. There's a short movie that he's in post-production called Light Withheld, coming out this year. Law and Order Special Victims Unit. Judge Hugo Bright. Let's see, he's done Judge Hugo Bright in 4 episodes of Law and Order. Judge Albert Scholl in 1 episode. Then Captain Walder in an episode. Agent Carlin in an episode. Ted Parker in an episode. And Patrick Monahan in an episode. So he's been around in the Law and Order. He played Louis Sobotka in 4 episodes of The Wire, which I hear is a good show. I'll have to check it out one day. Murder, She Wrote. Lieutenant Bergkamp. He also played, 2 years later, he played Dr. Wiley Graham. Oh my! He played Dr. Wiley Graham in 1986, Dead Man's Gold. And then he played Dr. Wiley Graham again 1986, Obituary for a Dead Anchor. And then 1989, played FBI agent Gillifoyle, I think. Or I think it's Gillifoyle. The episode Double Exposure. So he plays a recurring character in 1986. That's interesting. I like it when they do that, when they have recurring characters in shows. It's pretty neat. And, of course, he's been in Barnaby Jones, Operation Petticoat, Richie Brockelman, Private Eye, Sergeant Ted Coppersmith. Well, and just a ton of other stuff. He's been doing TV since 1956. This fellow. He's been around the block a few times. So, what is happening in this particular episode of Murder, She Wrote? Well, as I said, Jessica ends up getting called out to a hotel. But the first thing we see when it all starts, after the opening credits and whatnot, we see a lake at night with the title and whatnot. And then you see resort, hotel, casino, Lake Tahoe Evergreen. And there's a car pulling up. And we can see the sign of now appearing the amazing Cagliostro in main showroom. Oh, the amazing Cagliostro. And as this is all showing up, you can hear the voice of Cagliostro. And he ends up clapping his hands and making people act like their favorite animals on stage. And everyone's all clap, 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 clap. We see Joan, who's recording the show, and we see Mr. Bud Michaels and Bud Michaels and what's his face? What's his face? I was just talking about him. Not Zach Bernard. Andy Townsend. We see Bud and Andy talking about the particular the act, and Bud thinks he's a fraud. Then he makes them return to themselves, stop acting like animals, Mr. Cagliostro. And makes them seem like they're naked. To which everyone's like all hiding and stuff. The Joan seems to be quite taken with him. Then it cuts to Mr. Kellyan and his wife, and she's admitting that he hypnotized her. Cagliostro hypnotized her. She's under his spell, and he ends up practically choking her in anger, saying that you can't hypnotize someone to do something they don't want to do. To which she kind of admits that maybe she did want to a little, but she was still forced. He stops choking her and seems to regret what he's doing here. He kisses her, and he's like, I'm gonna get rid of him. I'm gonna get rid of this Cagliostro fellow. And out he leaves to go and confront him. And he does. He ends up confronting him and saying, nope, I want you out of my hotel tomorrow. Despite the fact that he's going to get paid $3 million whether he appears or not. He's like, I want you gone. There's a big struggle. Mr. Kellyan is quite upset. Then we see Jessica checking in and asking about her editor. So he goes and checks to see if she's the bell guy checks to see if he's in there. To which, of course, she's not. Joan walks up while this is happening, and Joan kind of ends up explaining that she forged, oh, pardon me, she forged this telegram and signed Marilyn's name to it instead of her own, because she wants to drop this idea on Jessica about the hypnotist in as a backdrop for the story and whatnot. And Jessica is completely just like, yeah, this doesn't interest me at all to write a story for. I'm sorry. Poor Joan's a little bit put out by that because she was really excited and really hoping, and she's going to be in trouble because she also sent one to the big boss. Jessica says that, you know, she can send one tomorrow that she did meet with Jessica and that wasn't interested, to kind of save face. But even so, at that point, poor Joan goes and drains a glass of wine, and Jessica tries to be like, well, that's not going to solve anything, and tries to come up with a better solution. And while all this is going on, we see Mr. Cagliostro coming in with his little entourage of Mr. Diamond, and oh, there's a guy, I forgot about him. Hold on. I forgot about him in the entourage. His name was Mike, I think. Was it Mike? Huh. No, I can't find it here. Or was it Zach? There's a guy. He's not really in it a whole lot, but he's part of the entourage. So you get Miss Diamond and Mr. Cagliostro and Mustache Guy. Jessica, of course, has never heard of Cagliostro, the best hypnotist in the world. And Joan's all super gushy. And Jessica's just kind of, very, very patient. We then see Mrs. Kellyan come in. And Cagliostro kind of gestures over to her to invite her to the table, but she just gets up and leaves. She's just like, nope, I'm not going to be hanging with you. And we see Mr. Townsend and Mr. Michaels, the two reporters. Bud, who is quite inebriated, and goes over to the table and basically says to Cagliostro that, you know, I'm going to find out about you. I'm going to prove you're a fraud, and blah, 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 blah. Drunk, 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 drunk. Cagliostro, of course, has this wonderful little plan. He's like, I'll tell you what. Why don't you come up to my room in a half hour, and I will tell you everything you want to know. But you may not remember any of it, because I want to hypnotize you. All the press, they can come. Round up your friends. On the condition that I will hypnotize you before I tell you anything. And that is the backdrop for the murder. Because after that happens, after this big confrontation, he goes and leaves to go back up to his room. And Bud ends up telling Andy, Mr. Townsend, he's like, you go in my place. He's like, I'm drunk. I don't care what anybody thinks. But this will be a good story for you. So you get some of the boys up there and, you know, call his bluff. Meanwhile, while this is going on, Joan rushes out of the room to run after Mr. Cagliostro. Bud goes back upstairs to sleep. Joan meets Mr. Cagliostro and ends up explaining that, you know, J.B. Fletcher is here in the hotel. And it'd be great if she could attend this little demonstration. To which Cagliostro was like, well, of course. Mrs. Fletcher, of course. I'd be honored to have Mrs. Fletcher. and that begins the day, the whole scenario. Now, Mr. Townsend, before he goes up, he says he's managed to round up a couple of the guys. He goes over and talks to Jessica, and says he's rounded up a couple of guys, but it would lend a touch of class to the proceedings if she could go up too. And Jessica says that she suspects that Joan is going to ask just that, though she wants nothing to do with it. She just wants to go back to her room and go to sleep the normal way. Now, on her way through the casino area of the hotel, she runs into the elderly lady that I mentioned, who thinks she's some famous actress playing a nurse. And Jessica tries to explain to her, I'm not this actress. It's like, I'm J.B. Fletcher. He's like, look, you've got one of my books. It's me on the back cover. This is me. And of course, the elderly lady gets all upset at her and is like, no, it's not you. And stomps off, leaving Jessica kind of flustered. While she's arguing with the old lady, though, she sees Mr. Townsend heading for the elevator. And she calls out to him to try and get his attention, but he doesn't seem to hear her, leaving her kind of by herself with this old woman. Meanwhile, there's Joan rushes over just after the old lady leaves, and she wants nothing to do with any of these proceedings going on up there. But I think Joan manages to kind of convince her to come along anyways, because Joan's that sort of person. Meanwhile, we see Cagliostro coming into his room and inviting the reporters, including Mr. Townsend, to sit down, and he begins the hypnotizing of everybody. Unfortunately, the elevator takes forever, and it's crowded with people, so it takes them a while to get up there. Meanwhile, we see Mr. Cagliostro hypnotizing everyone and double-checking to make sure everything's okay, and that everyone's in a trance before he begins. And then he starts telling his life story to them. The next thing we see is Joan and Jessica heading to the room, guarded by Mustache Man, who can't let them in because he doesn't have a key. Just as they're about to leave, they hear glass breaking inside. Mustache Man tries to open the door, pounding on it and whatnot. The elevator comes up, and there's Mr. Kellyan, who's going, "What's going on here?" To which she's like, "They don't have a key to get in the door." Well, he's the hotel owner. Of course he's got a key, a master key. They open up the door, rush in, and Mr. Cagliostro is dead on the floor, stabbed in the back. And sitting around the dead body, eyes wide open, are 6 reporters, not moving, not saying a thing. Poor Joan ends up fainting. Then we cut to the dead body being taken out, and a detective with a pipe. The good old detective that we mentioned before, Lieutenant Bergkamp, who is here asking about where the asking one of the policemen about something. Miss Fletcher comes in. He asks her a couple of questions about what she saw, so on and so forth, and that, she can go, but don't leave for a few hours. Meanwhile, the detective moves on to go talk to one of the other officers, and Jessica finds the broken glass at the window very curious. The detective comes over and kind of is like, this is a crime scene. Just don't be messing around with the evidence. And of course, Jessica has to point out where the glass is broken. She's like, don't you find that curious? I mean, it was broken over here. Someone would need 6-foot arms to be able to reach in and unlock the door. It seems strange that it would be broken there. And Mr. Bergkamp's like, well, yes, of course it's strange. We of course noticed that. Then a shrink comes in, the same shrink that Jessica consults later, and he of course says that yeah, they're definitely in a trance. Of course, Jessica has a suggestion because she hears them discussing. She's like, the assistant editor taped Mr. Cagliostro's show. If they play back the part where he brings them out of the trance, maybe that would wake them up. And they give it a try. They have the tape recorder. They play back that part of the thing, and everyone snaps out of it. Of course, everyone's wondering what's going on. Where's Cagliostro? And the detective explains it. Just calm down. We have some questions for you because there's been a crime committed here, and you guys need to come with us. We need to question everybody. So everybody gets carted out. We see Jessica taking a jog through the grounds of the park. Joan catches up with her and ends up talking with her a bit. Joan, of course, thinks, she's going to be leaving here soon because she can go. But Jessica is still curious. And she admits to being curious about it. Because Jessica is wondering how he could be killed in a room with 6 witnesses sitting right there who didn't see anything. It's it's very frustrating for her because she likes to have things explained. It's unbelievable, she says. Then she's talking to Dr. Yambert, who was in earlier. Or possibly not Dr. Yambert was in earlier, but talking with him about hypnosis. And he offers to give her a demonstration. She, of course, doesn't think she can be hypnotized, but she basically allows him to try. So we see her closing her eyes and talking to listening to the man's voice, and then we see him shutting off a tape recorder and walking around and bringing her out of it. And of course, she thinks nothing's happened. And then he goes and plays what he had just recorded, where we get to hear Jessica explaining the room and whatnot, as would a drunken barfly or a high-end socialite from New York. And both times we hear Jessica's voice taking on an accent. And Jessica is just embarrassed and mortified and amused by this, but mostly just kind of embarrassed. And she's like, I don't remember doing that. Oh my God. Oh my God. She has this look of like astonishment on her face. She finds it, amusing, but also very, very informative. Then we see Miss Kellyan up in her room, and Mustache Man comes in. And Mustache Man is all like, I think it's time we talked about money, hey? Of course, Miss Kellyan's more than a little visibly upset. And we see a nice aerial shot of the lake, beautiful looking lake and countryside. Back to the hotel, where Jessica's wandering through the casino part and finds Mr. Townsend playing the slots, listening to one talk to him. They have a little bit of a conversation about what the police had to say to him, that they grilled him for hours and whatnot, but no real information seems to have come about. Though she does learn from him about his relationship to Bud, and the fact that he thinks that Bud was faking being drunk the other night because he's seen him put away a lot of liquor over the years. So that's kind of interesting. Jessica ends up going up to talk to the lieutenant, who lets them into the room where they're doing basically cutting holes in the walls and whatnot. So there's loud construction equipment going on. And the detective is a little upset because he thinks she's about to write a book about this whole thing and make him look like a fool. And she's like, there's no book, and even if I did write it, I certainly wouldn't make you look like a fool, detective. Jessica has a lot of respect for the police. And he looks quite interesting in the suit that he's got, the kind of this woolen suit with a pipe and whatnot. And Jessica's trying to help. Trying to help him solve the mystery. Though they're trying to figure out how the killer managed to kill him and get away in that time, going out the balcony. Now we see Bud and Andy, the two reporter guys, talking, and Bud is telling him to, start asking some questions in that and stop talking to Jessica Fletcher because she's nothing but trouble. Jessica ends up heading into the gym there at the resort and having a little talk with Miss Diamond, where you end up finding out she used to be a stripper back in Vegas with a trapeze act that she took her clothes off on. And she doesn't seem at all self-conscious about this. She's like, no, this is a job. This is what I did. I was good at it. Which is really interesting for this time frame in television. 1984, talking about strippers. And the character is not degraded in any way. She isn't portrayed as being that way. It's not kind of, I think the word is coded into it. I find that fascinating. That all these episodes that have had some interesting things, like the madcap inventor, the one guy who dressed up in women's clothes and the female impersonator, these sort of things weren't played negatively, which is very interesting. And Miss Diamond ends up hearing or telling Jessica a couple things about the Mr. Cagliostro and his blackmailing that he's done. And of course she kept working for him because it was a job. We see Joan starting to make a phone call, and then she stops, overhearing Mr. Townsend talking on the phone next to him about Miss Diamond, finding out that she was a trapeze artist. So she goes and sneaks off. Mr. Kelly is, of course, being informed that the customers are checking out early because of the police investigation. He's a little upset. Now, Miss Fletcher finds Bud taking in some sun, and she has some questions for him. And he kind of has a bit of a smile, but he doesn't trust Jessica. So he basically tells her, so are we going to lie to each other about this, or, shall we, cut the crap, so to speak? She basically is like, I'm not trying to scoop you on this, and even if I were trying to get the story, I couldn't scoop you because it would take me a lot longer to get mine out than it would yours. She just wants to pool information, and he, of course, claims to know nothing. Although she does ask him why he was faking being drunk the other night. To which he is like, somebody's perceptive. Remind me never to play poker with you. And then there's a glance up at the roof, at which point both of them see some sort of a man going down the side of the roof on a rope, rappelling down. Jessica runs off at that point and makes her way up to the roof, where she finds Joan and the detective and a few other uniforms. And Joan's called up Miss Diamond and has asked her to help them figure out if someone could get down from the roof to the balcony using like a trapeze, for example. Of course, Miss Diamond gets close to the edge and has a bit of a panic attack, and runs away. Gets visibly upset and whatnot. Joan, of course, thinks that means that she was reacting guiltily to being close to the scene of the crime. Jessica is unconvinced at this. And says as much to both the detective and Joan, kind of cutting them down. Because even if she could, it took them how many men and how many hours to get this set up here, and she had to do it by herself in half an hour? So it's unlikely that that's not how it was done. We see a confrontation then with Mr. Kellyan and the lieutenant about the murder investigation, driving people away from his hotel, and them not being allowed on the roof without his permission. The lieutenant's like, we're having a murder investigation. I can go wherever I want. And Miss Fletcher has words with Mr. Kellyan about him being a suspect. And he's like, no, I didn't need to kill him. He's like, yeah, I already called my lawyer. We definitely found a loophole in his contract, so I could kick him out without having to pay him $3 million. I didn't need to kill him for that. And the whole thing with me and my wife, we got back together. We've settled our differences there. We were together when it happened. So, I ain't a suspect. Very, very interesting. We see Jessica and Joan having a little stroll as Jessica kind of explains some things to her. Jessica then sees Miss Kellyan heading out of the hotel, looking very furtive. And Jessica runs after her and sees her leaving in a cream-colored car. She asks the man on a motorbike if there's a taxi, and she's like, well, I need to follow that cream car, but it's too late. And he's like in the movies? And he's like, well, hop on. I'll take you. So he slaps his helmet on, and Jessica hops on the back of the motorbike, and off they go. In a very not so dramatic chase scene as they're following her down the road. They end up catching up to them and observing a transaction between Miss Kellyan and Mustache Man, who I still don't know the name of. I'm not spending the time to find him. But Mustache Man there ends up getting a huge wad of cash from Miss Kellyan. Of course, the guy driving the motorbike is like, what was that about? And Jessica's like, I believe that's what they refer to as a payoff. The guy finds that a little amusing. The next thing we see is Jessica confronting Miss Kellyan and finding out that she can't go to the police about this, about why she was paying off Mr. Mustache Man, because some time ago she actually approached that guy and offered him money to kill Cagliostro, to which he said he'd think about it and then never got back to her until after Cagliostro was dead, at which point he came and got money from her. So one way or the other, she's damned if she does and damned if she doesn't in that regard. So we've got some suspects going on here. The next thing we see is Joan and the detective and Jessica having a bit of a conversation about figuring out who was going to be it. Of course, Jessica lets her know that couldn't be Miss Diamond, and that this couldn't happen and that couldn't happen because of reasons. It was a complete mystery. Of course, Mr. Detective there, Lieutenant Bergkamp, is basically like, I got 6 witnesses, I got 5 suspects, and I got 0 case. Because all the witnesses may have been deaf, dumb, and blind. Which, of course, triggers something in Jessica, and she's like, say that again? And, of course, she does. The suspects may have been, or the witnesses may have been deaf, dumb, and blind. And she's like, I think I know who did it. Dun, dun, dun. So they got an idea. They end up going to get things set up. We see Joan talking with Bud Michaels, having a little conversation in the bar, and Joan lets it slip to him that the lieutenant and Miss Fletcher are pretty sure they know who did it, but they can't. They don't want to say anything overall. But they're pretty sure that it was. They're pretty sure it was Ms. Diamond, I think. Then we see the lieutenant talking to Mr. Townsend, asking if he would mind coming up. They're going to get a hypnotist in to see if they can dredge up that memory that the other hypnotist locked away. So there they are, up in the room as another fellow is putting him into a trance and waking up the memory and telling him what he sees, or telling him to tell them what he saw that night, to which he did. He says that he saw Miss Diamond coming in the balcony, stabbing him in the back, breaking the window and escaping out the balcony again. It paints a wonderful image. However, after he tells the tale, of course, and wakes him up from the trance, Jessica ends up saying, nope, it couldn't be her, because she's afraid of heights. She had a nasty fall from her trapeze act and has had a severe case of acrophobia since then. Is seeing a therapist about it, in fact. So no. See, you were the one who killed him, Mr. Townsend. You, because you were never in a trance to begin with. And they know this because the hypnotist is no hypnotist. He's a blackjack dealer from the casino next door. He just brought him here and told him what to say. You see, Mr. Townsend, you were never hypnotized because you had earplugs in your ears, and thus you couldn't hear Cagliostro's voice. That's why you also didn't hear my voice, Jessica Fletcher says, when she called across the lobby to him that night. See, little things like that come back and solve the mystery that Jessica ends up noticing. And we find out that his father was Bud Michaels. I think it's Bud Michaels. I hope I've been saying that wrong. Yep. He was Bud Michaels' editor. And when Bud Michaels was ruined, so was he. So this is kind of a bit of a revenge killing as well. But he ends up confessing to the crime. Mr. Bergkamp says goodbye to Jessica. Joan, of course, ends up seeing her on her way, and she says that the big boss editor loves the idea of this whole mystery being put into a book, and that Jessica should, if Jessica wants to write it, they'd love so. And she's like, yeah. She's like, but there's only one thing. They don't like the way it ended, so they want you to change it so that it was a trapeze artist all the time. Just Just a little change. And Jessica's like, a little change? And then roll credits, and the episode is over. So yes, that fun little thing. I love how they do some of these little things in the episodes. It's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. So that's it for this episode of the Murder, She Wrote Rewatch podcast. I hope you've all been enjoying these. I noticed just today that my first episode of the Rewatch podcast has over 1,000 views. Boom, my mind is blown. I hope you have all been enjoying it. I'm enjoying doing it. So, yes, thank you again so much for watching. As always, if you like what I'm doing, please give that like button a tap. Give that subscribe button a tap as well if you haven't already, so you can be kept apprised of when I do new videos. And throw a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about my Murder, She Wrote Rewatch podcast. Please do, please. I would love to hear from people and get a discussion going. So do all that, and until next time, you all take care, and join me for the next episode for more murder.